Okay, now for the hard part. Okay, you can see the shotgun is pretty much completely taken apart. So now we got to put it back together. Okay, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our pin or our spring. Like I said, this is seated in there by grease only. After we put it in there, we're gonna just try to get my big hands and get it up in there. Okay, well, it was in there and it fell out. Okay, now it's back in there. From there, we're going to look down the little hole here, line up the holes. I don't know if you can see that pin has a head on it. That's where that little Carter key goes in, is in between there and there. I'm going to line up the holes, insert the pin, and it should go in fairly easy. Shouldn't take much of a tap to get it to go through. If it's not lined up, it won't go through. Okay, it's in. Now we're going to go for the hard part, and that's putting this little key back in that little groove. And this is where all the cursing starts. So the easiest way I found to do it is to push it on there from the top, go around the pin, and then slide it in. And I missed it. All right. Okay, I don't know if you can see, but it took a little, I had to move myself around where I could get in there, but that little Carter key is now back inside. That takes a minute. Okay, you can see we kind of had a little mess up there. So we're going to take our bluing pin and cover that back up. Hopefully this will be the last time I ever have to take that piece out of there. So we're not really going to worry about it. Okay, from here, we're going to take the bolt assembly. We're going to hold it together. It goes inside. I'm normally doing this where I'm not having to worry about camera angles. Makes it a little bit more difficult. Inside here, let me see if we can get a close-up of the inside. This piston has to go inside this tube. So I'm going to have to put this piston inside that tube. If I turn the gun around this way, then you won't be able to see. I can use gravity to hold that piston down, and I just use my finger to kind of slide it in there. You have to push on the bolt release, let the bolt slide, and I missed. We're going to take it back up. Okay, back out. We're going to let that piston slide fall down. When I get it lined up with my finger, I'm going to push bolt release and drop the bolt into the piston. Okay, and there it is. Okay, from there, you want to take your, I don't know, your release handle. Well, I don't know what all the parts are. Okay, you want to push that down. You're going to take the bolt and just slide it back in. Just pops in. Okay, now that's locked in there. We're going to take and put in our trigger assembly. Okay, keep everything facing up. We're going to get our 2 pins. We're going to lift the firearm up, take the trigger assembly, set it in. You want to hold the trigger assembly where you can see down through there so you can line up the holes. These are not tapered or anything like they are in an AR. Both sides are the same. Usually that does have little grooves in there. After you line it up, if they're not lined, you don't want to bang, you want to tap. There's a difference between a bang and a tap. If you got a bang, then it's not right. See? If you can tap and they go right through, get your punch. And seat them in there until they click. Okay. Then we can lock our slide to the rear. Okay, after we lock our slide to the rear, we're going to get our, I just call it a little bushing. I don't know what you want to call it. And put our little bushing on. Okay. Then from there, we're going to get our spring, our little spring. Slide it on. Then we're going to get our little ejector housing. Slide it on. Make sure it all goes together. And we're going to get our, what they call a spacer tube. Slide it on there. See how it's all starting to go together? We're going to get our little magazine catch. Go ahead and slide it in there. Okay, it's in. This is our piston assembly. We're going to go ahead and put it into. If this goes in difficult, that means you didn't do it correct. It should just slide right up in there. And finally, it does. The YouTube curse. Okay, then we're going to take this. Now from here, this is where it's going to get kind of, I put the gun in my lap, turn this, pull it all down, take this, use my other hand to guide in the barrel, and rocking it back and forth, pulling the bolt back, it should go on. Sometimes you got to use a little bit of firm pressure to get it seated. Okay, then you want to wiggle it. You get to go down into the gun. Sometimes it's a little more difficult than what it looks. And it's seated. And it's on there. Okay, so then once you have that on there, take your forearm, put it on. Take your extension tube. Okay, make sure everything's seated. Screw it on. Hand tight. You don't have to go overboard. You would take your long spring, stick it all the way down in there. We're going to double check, make sure the, yep, and it's in there, the shell holder's in there. Then you got to manipulate this spring down this hole. Got to be careful because it's under a lot of spring tension. And it will try to shoot back out. Okay, once you get it down in there, put that on there, start turning. Okay, once it's together, we're going to go ahead and test it. And it's all back together. Okay, and the last and final step is to take your end piece. One side's bigger than the other, so you got to make sure you get it on the right. Go ahead, whoop, spread it open, put it on, and sometimes it wants to be sticky, and slide it back into the appropriate spot. Once you get it in the spot, go ahead and get your original size Allen wrench. I'm gonna go ahead and just use one of these. You want to tighten this up, but you don't want to over tighten. What I like to do is tighten one side and turn the gun over. Tighten the other side. Try to put it back in the same spot that it was in the original spot. That's a little small. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get this tool out. Obviously none of those fit. Okay, you just want to snug it down. You don't want to over tighten. And then I go back to this side, snug it down. You don't want to over tighten. Then I come back and I just make sure everything's good and snug. All right, well there you go. We showed you how to use the new the Presto gun bluing pen. We showed you how to take apart the Mossberg 930. It's really not that difficult. There are some steps in there that can cause some issues. You know, you just have to take your time, wheel it together. If you're having to force it, it's not right. So just take your time, put it together slowly, and it'll go back together. And you can see it's all working. All right, guys. If you like this video at all, please give us a thumbs up. If this was helpful to you at all, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching.